This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
It was all because of the Berlin Wall. If it wasn't for the Berlin Wall, Cecilia would never have found the letter, and then she wouldn't be sitting here at the kitchen table, willing herself not to rip it open. The envelope was grey, with a fine layer of dust. The words on the front were written in a scratchy blue ballpoint pen. The handwriting as familiar as her own. She turned it over. It was sealed with a yellowing piece of sticky tape. When was it written? It felt old, like it was written years ago, but there was no way of knowing for sure. She wasn't going to open it. It was absolutely clear that she should not open it. She was the most decisive person she knew, and she had already decided not to open the letter, so there was nothing more to think about. Although, honestly, if she did open it, what would be the big deal? Any woman would open it like a shot. She listed all her friends and what their responses would be if she were to ring them up right now and ask what they thought. Miriam Oppenheimer. Yep, open it. Erica Edgecliffe. Are you kidding? Open it right this second. Laura Marks. Yes, you should open it, and then you should read it out aloud to me. Sarah Sachs. There would be no point asking Sarah, because she was incapable of making a decision. If Cecilia asked her whether she wanted tea or coffee, she would sit for a full minute, her forehead furrowed as she agonized over the pros and cons of each beverage before finally saying, "Coffee. No, wait, tea." A decision like this one would give her a brain seizure. Mahalia Ramachandran. Absolutely not. It would be completely disrespectful to your husband. You must not open it. Mahalia could be a little too sure of herself at times with those huge brown ethical eyes. Cecilia left the letter sitting on the kitchen table and went to put the kettle on. Damn that Berlin Wall, and that Cold War, and whoever it was who sat there back in 1940, whenever it was, mulling over the problem of what to do with those ungrateful Germans. The guy who suddenly clicked his fingers and said, "Got it, by Jove. We'll build a great big bloody wall and keep the buggers in." Presumably he hadn't sounded like a British sergeant major. Esther would know who first came up with the idea for the Berlin Wall. Esther would probably be able to give her his date of birth. It would have been a man, of course. Only a man could come up with something so ruthless, so essentially stupid, and yet brutally effective. Was that sexist? She filled the kettle, switched it on, and cleaned the droplets of water in the sink with a paper towel, so that it shone. One of the mums from school, who had 3 sons almost exactly the same ages as Cecilia's 3 daughters, had said that some remark Cecilia had made was a teeny-weeny bit sexist, just before they'd started the Fate Committee meeting last week. Cecilia couldn't remember what she'd said, but she'd only been joking. Anyway, weren't women allowed to be sexist for the next 2,000 years or so, until they'd evened up the score? Maybe she was sexist. The kettle boiled. She swirled an Earl Grey tea bag and watched the curls of black spread through the water like ink. There were worse things to be than sexist. For example, you could be the sort of person who pinched your fingers together while using the words teeny-weeny. She looked at her tea and sighed. A glass of wine would be nice right now, but she'd given up alcohol for Lent. Only 6 days to go. She had a bottle of expensive Shiraz ready to open on Easter Sunday, when 35 adults and 23 children were coming to lunch, so she'd need it. Although, of course, she was an old hand at entertaining. She hosted Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Christmas. John Paul had 5 younger brothers, all married with kids, so it was quite a crowd. Planning was the key. Meticulous planning. She picked up her tea and took it over to the table. Why had she given up wine for Lent? Polly was more sensible. She'd given up strawberry jam. Cecilia had never seen Polly show more than a passing interest in strawberry jam, although now, of course, she was always catching her standing at the open fridge, staring at it longingly. The power of denial.